Today I'm going to show you how to use SMS2 by writeccs.com to do two-factor authentication through Netscaler. It's basically a time-based token. Right here I have my test environment. Domain's name is Playland. It's basically a Citrix environment, and I have a Netscaler right here. Virtual appliance, I have two Radius servers. One's already configured, the other one's waiting for me to configure it so that you can see. And then I'll show you how to do Netscaler configurations for it as well. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to get onto the Zen Test Lab domain controller. Let's go ahead and refresh this. This should all be down. Okay. Alright, so I am going to connect to that Radius server that we're going to configure. And play rad01. Right. So this is a plain Jane 2016 server, just joined the domain, nothing special about it at all. I'm going to download the tools that I'm going to need, and I'll put links to all this stuff below. It's not a very fast environment. So I'm going to download the version of SMS2 that I use. There are newer versions of SMS2. Actually, let me go ahead and get to the download page for you instead of doing it this way. Alright, so the version that I use is this 2015 1106-x64. The reason I use this is because versions after this, they started encrypting the database, and I like to be able to edit the database via PowerShell because the user interface that comes along with this isn't great for adding users in mass. So I created a PowerShell script, which I'll also link below, to basically do this, for all users in a domain very rapidly. So I'll go ahead and download this one from here. We'll save it. Yeah, whatever. And I'm also going to download a tool from my share file. This is NTRADPING. You can download this, just Google it, or I'll also put a link down at the bottom. Alright, so I got both of those downloaded, and I'm going to go ahead and open up PowerShell. For two reasons. Downloads nowadays, they get the file blocked thing, so I don't like that, so I'm going to fix that. And I'm also going to install the network protection feature for Windows, which SMS2 runs on top of. So first things first, GCI get child item downloads, tab complete. And for each of those items, I want to unblock file. And we'll just do full name. Alright, so all the files in my downloads folder are now unblocked. I like that. I'm going to IPMO server manager. IPMO is import module. Import-module. Alright, so it's just a shortcut. Install Windows feature. And name is npass. And we're going to include all subfeatures and include management tools, and enter. You can also do this to the GUI, however you want to do it. Network protection services or something. I'll go in and find out in a second. Oh, network policy and access services. All right. So that's what you're going to look for when you install it via the GUI if you want to do it that way. But this is a one-liner that does it. All right. So now that I have that installed, I should have the console for it, which is going to be network security or network policy server. We'll open that up. We'll make a few changes in here, or a couple. So let's go to policies, we'll go to network policy. The second one here, if you double click on it, the policy is enabled, that's good. We want to grant access, and we want to ignore user account dial-in properties. If you have a VPN, you know what that is, but this will ignore that and allow you to authenticate. So we'll do that. Right now, nothing can authenticate with this, so what we need to do is add clients that can. So we'll add the local host, local, and his IP address is, I believe it's that, and we'll do a shared secret of secret. And whatever you set as the secret code, remember it. So you don't want to use the generate feature, which does this kind of crap, because you have to be able to, put this in every time you're going to use this. So I like to do manual, and I like to set it as a short phrase, sentence or whatever, but just for testing purposes, I'm going to use secret, the word secret. All right. So now that means that this server can talk to itself. We want the Netscaler to be able to talk to this as well. So I'm going to add in the NSIP and the SNP of the subnet IP of the Netscaler. So we'll do Netscaler NSIP. That's the Netscaler management IP address, which I'm pretty sure is the one it actually uses, but I just put both of them in there just to be sure, cover all my bases. 100.115.220, I believe. And we'll do secret here as well. And let's do the subnet IP. And subnet IP in this case is 10.100.115.2. And we'll set the secret to secret. All right. So now my Netscaler and local can talk to this. So now I'm going to go ahead and install SMS2. So I'm going to go to my downloads and install. Next. And here you're going to do custom. So there's different ways that this can work. You can do cloud SMS, you can do email, you can do whatever. The way I'm going to do it is with Google Authenticator or WinAuth or any of those kind of authenticator programs. So we'll turn off that. I'm going to go ahead and install all clients except for this web GUI thing, whatever it is. All right, so this is everything I'm installing. All right, next. So we're going to configure the auth engine. You need a license. So you can either go through the Right CCS website and say, I want to get a license and all that stuff, register, or I will provide you with the generic license that they give everybody, which is this one. This is good until the end of 2022. So good for a little while. So we'll do next there, and just leave this as is. Next. All right, so the network bindings part here. Change this IP address to 0.0.0.0. That means this will answer on any IP address that this thing has. That's fine. And then you're going to use your domain controller as the LDAP server here. In this case, it's going to be play DC01. And the LDAP query account, I created an account named radius user. And put in his password. It's just important that whatever user you use here is set to their password, doesn't ever expire. And don't put them in any special groups. They don't need to be in domain admins or anything like that. They just need to be a regular domain user. And we'll test it out. Small test environment, so only 30 users. And we'll hit next. All right, so now we're going to configure the database connection. So my SQL server is place SQL, and you want a SQL user that has access to create databases, to edit databases, to be able to create this database. So SQL radius is the user that I've created. I always check this box. I'm not sure if it's needed, but I do. Alright, you can test connection. This connection is going to be successful because I've already actually have this database out here. But if it'll probably come back and tell you that the database doesn't exist. Just go through next, and this is only if you're using email authentication. I just hit finish here, and if there was a problem, it would come up and tell you after when you go to install it for the database. All right, so on the next part, next, I leave this all default, finish, and we're going to configure the admin GUI client. So here you're actually going to put in the local IP address. 240. All right, and finish. And next, install. All right, so now we have to edit some things in the configuration file. I'm going to go ahead and stop the services. So go into services. It's write auth engine and write auth calc. So we'll go ahead and stop those two. And then we're going to go to C, program files. And we're going to go to write CCS, settings. This configuration file, we're going to edit it. All right, so the first thing you want to look for is this emergency passcode. I always enable this in case someone's authenticator fails for whatever reason. I can create them a manual code. So we'll change this from false to true. And we're going to scroll down. This part here, the auth engine challenge response, true. We want to change that true to false. All right, and then down here in the authentication provider section, I don't want to use Cloud SMS, so I'm going to say false here. And I'm going to say you're not default. Auth calc, this is the one I want to use for default because this is going to be the token-based authentication. So I'll say true there. Pintan, I don't want that. I don't know what that is. So we'll disable that. Email, I don't want that. So disable that. And NHS is already disabled. Static, I want to enable this one. All right, and that's the last thing I need to edit here. There's some extra things you can add in if you want to do some special, like this group doesn't have to give a two-factor authentication or whatever. You can add that in here. Just go to writeccs.com. There's a forum you can search, give you the advanced settings here, but this is the basics of what I set. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and save this. All right, and I'm going to start these guys back up. And part of that install is this administration console. I'm going to open that up. Because I'm a local, or not local, but domain administrator, I have access to all the users, which I only have a few. I want to look at this radius user real quick and look at the authentication options. All right, so I want his provider to be static. I want his token to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or you can set it to whatever you want to. And save configuration. And close. All right, so this is the user that's doing all the LDAP queries. This is also the user that's I'm going to be using on the Netscaler to query to make sure that this service is up. All right, so go ahead and close this. And let's go over to the secondary radius server, which is RAD2. And we'll start his stuff up here. He's configured the exact same way. So they both access the database the same way. This way the Netscaler can use both of them. All right, so we'll refresh this. They should eventually come back up. I might have to restart the net services here. Let me see here. Let's restart the network policy services. Start it. And then we'll go back to RAD1. And we'll stop it. And we'll start it. Let's go ahead and try this. Let's test this out here. The other thing I downloaded was this tool here, so we'll extract that. Open it. All right, and the port is going to be 1812. Secret key was secret. The user is the domain radius user. It's the user I created, and his key is 123456. All right, access accept. That's good. All right, so let's go back to the Netscaler. Hopefully it's showing these guys at screen. There we go. All right, so this is the Radius servers. So I'll show you how to configure these things. So first things first, you want to create a monitor, a real monitor. The default is going to be some ping, I think, and you don't want that. So what you do here is you create a monitor with the type of radius, name it whatever you want. Leave this all normal, this is fine here, and you want to go to special parameters. All right, you're going to use this is the domain user. His name is radius user. You can name it. You can create whatever user you want. And the password is not their actual domain password. It's the static key that you set in SMS2. All right. So in this case, it was 123456, and the radius key was secret, if you remember, for the radius. Let me go back over here. I'll show you. So remember in the radius clients, we set that as secret. All right. So if you change this at any time, you have to go and change it in the Netscaler as well. All right. So we'll go back to the Netscaler. All right. So we have that monitor, and then what you're going to do is you're going to create the servers. And that's what I did here. So you just do add server name, type in the IP address of the server, and hit create. And that's pretty easy. All right. And then you're going to create the services. And this is where you're going to link the monitor. So you're going to create a service that's protocol radius. The port is 1812. All right. And the monitor you're going to select as the one we created first. All right. And close that. And then you're going to create both of those services. And then under virtual servers, I don't know why. Oh, I know why. Edit. You're going to link the services in here and bind them. The other one. Yep. All right. So now he's got both those services. He should come back green. All right. So now this is my radius server. All right. He answers on 10.100.115.225. So we got the services, the servers, the monitor, and that's all good there. All right. So then the next step is, assuming you have a gateway already created, you want to go to your policies. And you want to create a couple new LDAP policies and a couple radius policies for authentication. So you're going to go to authentication. Let's go ahead and do the radius first. And all right, so you're going to do one for mobile and one for non-mobile. All right, and this is so the storefront web page works as well as Citrix Receiver native. So what you're going to do, you're going to create a policy, name it whatever you want. I do mobile and non-mobile, whatever they are. All right, and this one's going to answer when the header user agent contains receiver. That means it's the mobile version. And then it's going to use server, this radius server, which is that server we created already. All right, so it's going to its own load balancing service. All right, and I don't think I need to put the secret key here. I think it works without it. Or maybe it's just asking again because I opened it. It does have a star. So I'll just put it in here, secret. I'm pretty sure that was already there. Yep. All right, and so you have that one created. And then you're going to edit the non-mobile one, or create it. Same kind of thing. The only difference is you're going to do not contains Citrix receiver. And it's going to use the same radius server. All right. And then you're going to do the same, almost exact same thing with LDAP. All right, so I have an LDAP mobile and LDAP non-mobile. And same exact expression, req.http.header space user-agent space contains space Citrix receiver or not contains Citrix receiver, right? And they use the same exact backend LDAP server, which that's the LDAP server. This is play DC01 from my environment. And pretty standard setup here. Close that. All right, so then in my Netscaler Gateway, what I do is I edit this. Come on. All right, so you're going to have primary authentication and secondary authentication. So your primary LDAP is going to be the LDAP non-mobile, all right? And you're going to set that as a higher number priority than the radius primary, or yeah, radius primary authentication. So this is the LDAP non-mobile for primary, all right? And then the radius for primary is going to be the mobile version, and it's going to be a lower priority, okay? So it's a little bit tricky. So the LDAP is non-mobile, the radius is mobile and a lower priority, all right? And then just the opposite for secondary, all right? So your secondary, your LDAP mobile is lower priority, all right? And then your radius secondary is the non-mobile version, the priority of 100. Okay, so and basically all you do to add something in here is you hit the plus sign, you say I want radius, I want it to be the secondary, and you continue and you select your radius policy that you want there. All right, I already have it set, so I don't want to mess with that. All right, so then you're not out of the woods yet. You got to come down here to your session policies. Typically there's going to be two default policies already in here from when you create your gateway. A lot of times they'll have some extra junk after this, but this is basically the same expressions that we had on the other policies over here. But what you want to do is go into, I believe it's this one, the one that contains receiver. And we're going to edit this policy. And we're going to edit this profile. And we're going to go to client experience. And you're going to claim, this is the main thing you want to change, the credential index, you want to set it to secondary. All right, and then the other one's going to be primary. So we'll go ahead and close this one, close, and we'll look at this one, this is a non-mobile. And we'll edit policy, we'll edit the profile, client experience. Credential index is primary. All right. So if everything is working correctly, which hopefully it is, let's go back out to my regular desktop here and open up a new window. Oh, I have to set up a user to actually use two-factor authentication aside from the regular user, or the aside from the radius user. So let's go back in here. Let's go to play radius 01. Let's go into the administration console. Let's look at user 1. Authentication options, auth options. All right. So I want his, actually, I think I already set up a token for him. We'll do another one. So we'll do, I think by default it says HOTP, but you want TOTP. I'm going to change the authenticator to Google Authenticator. Leave the TOTP window at 30. If you have a Phython token, or whatever it's called, these are the physical tokens, but you would know if you had those, you order them online, and it's got a special key, and you put that key right here, and you change the 30 to 60, and that's the only difference. But if you're just doing the soft tokens, like I usually use, Google Authenticator, I'm going to hit Generate a Secret. All right, so this secret is the one I want to give the user. All right, so I'll just go ahead and copy that. And when I save the configuration, the other option I'm going to have here is the QR code. I can copy this to the clipboard and email it to the user. I have a script that does all this too. Makes it a lot easier, especially if you're doing it in mass. So I'll put a link to that below. But so now this user has a code. I'm going to go ahead and get back out to my regular desktop. There's a program that I like to use on my workstation at home to authenticate with work. It's called WinAuth. I'll also put a link to that below as well. And basically what this allows you to do is basically it's like a Google Authenticator on your desktop. So I'm going to say Authenticator. I'm going to say this is user 1. And this is the code I was given. It's a time-based. I can verify it if I want to, but I know it's going to work. I'm pretty sure it is. Just hit OK there. And I think it should. Yeah, okay, so you hit OK twice. Anyway, I don't care about protecting it. You can if you want to. So this is my key. I'm going to tell it to auto-refresh, so it will continuously pop up new keys for me. But let's go over here to Zen Test Lab, which is my gateway. Oh, another thing before I actually log in here. In newer versions of Netscaler, they give you the option to create themes. All right, so that was my COGC theme. By default, it's going to have the username blank, the password blank, and then it's going to have password 2 blank. If you want to change that, you come in here to your portal theme, and you'll hit the plus sign up here that says logon page, and you can change the password field to token. So you can say, or to title to whatever you want it to be. You can say token or secondary key or whatever you want it to put there. It'll put it on the screen. So just real quick that. And so on mine it says token. So I'm going to log on as user 1. Oops. User 1. Password. Super secret password. And then I'm going to get his key. Copy code. Paste it here and log on. And he was able to log on no problem. All right, so we'll go ahead and log him back off. And we'll do user 1 again, do password. And we'll do gobbledygook. Let's see, we'll just type in a bunch of numbers. Incorrect username and password. All right, so password. Try it again. Yep, it's not taking it unless I actually have the real code. So I'll copy this code. I got time. Paste it in there, and I'm in. So that is how you do free two-factor authentication with Netscaler. Thanks for watching.